Somebody let Ole Miss basketball get hot again.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast around. I am your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. Today's show, we talk about Chris Beard opening his transfer portal account with Corey Chest from LSU, a textbook edition for what the 2024 team needed most. Chest is an absolute athletic freak who can defend just about anybody on the court, rebound in bunches, and most importantly, allow Malik Dia to shift to the 4 spot in this offense. Oh yeah, Malik Dia, right? Well, according to Twitter, Dia will be back at Ole Miss next year as well, which is an enormous coup for Ole Miss. This is a player that Chris Beard can mold into a true defensive weapon in Corey Chest, and it's a great opening move in the transfer portal for the Rebels. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. Don't forget to find a second listen on the network. Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC or Corey Burton at Locked On Vandy offer even more perspectives on college football, the SEC, and yes, even Ole Miss. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head on over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. So we're into this last week before I take my hiatus for my surgery, which is coming up a week from Wednesday. But Ole Miss basketball is really starting to heat up. After Texas A&M failed their theft last week, I think they ended up with Bucky McMillan from Samford as their coach. It's kind of a wide range going from Chris Beard to Bucky McMillan, but they did that. Ole Miss basketball took their reset that they got there because Chris Beard was able to secure more NIL funds. He was probably able to secure more money for his salary and more support staff stuff and all of that. He took that and he started out with Corey Chest. Everybody assumed it would be Pop Isaacs, and everybody's been making that Pop Isaacs as a commit is ready to pop. But what I'm hearing on that is it might be more medical based than anything else. They're looking to make sure that everything's good to go with his hip surgery because he's had, I think, multiple hip surgeries over his time at Creighton. So that's probably the reasons why Pop Isaac has not committed. But Corey Chest did commit. And Corey Chest, if we're just going to be honest, is the type player that if Ole Miss had on their roster, they beat Michigan State. They advanced to Auburn. They probably beat Auburn once or twice during the season. Ole Miss is a better basketball team with that type of player. He is athletic enough to play the 5 on offense, and he can rebound like crazy. Everybody knows how much trouble Ole Miss had rebounding the ball. Well, Corey Chest had 18 rebounds against Alabama, and he had 12 rebounds against Ole Miss, and he had double-digit rebounds about 7 or 8 times. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times over the course of the season. As it got down towards the end, whenever LSU was obviously their season was tanking, the playing time slipped a little bit, but this is a basketball player that averaged 6 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, a 0.7 assists, and about a block a game as well. Corey Chest is an athletic freak. He can guard absolutely everybody. And when Ole Miss constantly switches on defense, he's a guy that they can't just match up on a guard and just blow by him. He's got the athletic ability to hang with him. He's a 6'8", power forward, center in this positionless basketball. I don't know exactly where he's going to end up, but he would be a couple of factors ahead of where Michael Brown-Jones was. He's that type of player, and his athletic ability, he is a lob machine. He is a dunk machine. Some of the dunks that he had, he's putting his elbows in the rim. He can jump out of the freaking gym, even at 6'8". And here's the best part. He has 3 years of eligibility left to go. I know I joke all the time. Eligibility is a myth, but 3 years officially because he played. He's a former right on the edge of the top 100. His birthplace was in New Orleans, Louisiana, so obviously you go to LSU in that case. His field goal percentage is about 60% for the season. His free throw percentage, though, not so great. Not great at all, if we're going to be honest about it. Let's bring that up real quick. Let's see. Over the 44.9% from the foul line. And if you remember correctly, and Ole Miss's comeback against LSU, it was Chess that missed a couple of free throws late in that game. LSU as a team did not shoot particularly well from the foul stripe as well. But this guy, if you want a comparison to what this guy can be for Ole Miss, does everybody remember Jason Smith? I talk about Jason Smith on my show all the time. He's a guy that did not shoot free throws particularly well either when he was at Ole Miss. But he was a super defensive guy. He was an effort guy. He was a great athlete. And him being on the floor helped out other players. I think Corey Chess can provide a lot of the same stuff that Jason Smith could as well. The difference is Jason Smith was like 6'4", 6'5", when Corey Chess is 6'8". He's a freshman. He's super athletic. And I look forward to seeing what this team looks like with him on the floor, because Ole Miss just got more athletic than they were last year. And they were a pretty darn athletic team as well. Now, Malik Dia transitioning to the 4 in this offense, because I think that's what's going to happen. Malik Dia will be the 4. He'll kind of do what Dre Davis did a year ago. Ole Miss just got a little bit taller. You're going to have 2 players potentially that's 6'8", 6'9", and I think you'll see 3 players in their guard positions that Ole Miss recruits that ideally is somewhere between 6'3" and 6'6". We'll see in this recruiting who they're able to pull off and what can happen there. But if they have some scores that just pop, no pun intended, you can have them up no matter what. So like Pop Isaacs, I think is 6'2". If he commits to Ole Miss, if everything follows through, obviously you would have a 6'2" player on the floor. But, Juju Murray was a huge piece of the Ole Miss offense. He was 5'11" on a good day. That's just what he was. And teams that had bigger guards made Ole Miss struggle. Ole Miss needed to match up in the height requirement as well. So we're running a little bit behind on this show, so we're going to move it into the next segment. In the next segment, we are going to talk about Malik Dia and how he is coming back to Ole Miss. Per his Instagram account, we'll talk about Malik Dia and what that can mean for the Ole Miss basketball next. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back at all, and then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching up with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every single deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert today on TurboTax.com. It's only available with the TurboTax live full service. Real-time updates are only available on the iOS mobile app, and you can see guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. So Malik Dia is coming back to school, and that's awesome. He is a massive piece. If we saw during the NCAA basketball tournament, when he is on, he is a problem, a legit problem. He played bully ball against North Carolina. He played bully ball against the bigs, against Iowa State. He shot well from the outside and was able to stretch them out. He is honestly well positioned to be that stretch 4 type player. And because of that, him playing at the 5 was sometimes a disadvantage. Chris Beard wanted him to stay close to the basket for obvious reasons. He's 6'9", 250 pounds, and he's the only player on the roster that can play bully ball in the 2024 team. It made sense that he wanted him in a position to play that bully ball, because when he did it, he was very good. Now, if you want to look at his best game of the season, I mean, that's a piece of cake. That's a can of corn right now. Against Alabama, We're talking 20 points, 20 rebounds, that type of stuff. 23 points, 19 rebounds in that game. 11 of 21 shooting, 0 for 3 from three-point shots, but he played bully ball that night. He went for 23 once, 22 once, 21 once, 16, 18, 22. Whenever he played well, whenever he scored a bunch, that was a little bit too much for the other team to deal with. He was kind of a spark plug for the Ole Miss offense, and him returning to the Ole Miss basketball team makes this basketball team a little bit better already. Now, the two young players, I think it's Patton Pinkins and another big man coming in. There's not really, Patton Pinkins is a 6'6" guard. He'll probably get some playing time. Eduardo Klafke coming in. He's a wing. He needs to work on his offensive game. John Bowl is transferring out, but that is just a spot that is open. I do think that Chris Beard wants this Ole Miss roster to be between 6'4" and 6'9" or something like that. Some kind of small event because they can just switch on and off of what's going on. Malik Dia is a big-time player, has a ton of versatility on this Ole Miss basketball team, and he just instantly made Ole Miss basketball better. When you combine him with Corey Chest, you have a front court that is extremely formidable. Malik Dia has the talent to be the best front court man in the Southeastern Conference in 2024 or 2025. Whenever the basketball season starts, Malik Dia has a chance to take that steps because we saw in the NCAA tournament, whenever he was operating in high gear, when he was operating at the height of his powers, there wasn't too many people that could guard him. And that almost got Ole Miss into the Elite Eight. Honestly, if we were going to be honest, in the Sweet 16, if Sean Padula doesn't pick up that second foul with like 10 minutes to go in the first half, Ole Miss likely wins that game. They use that time at Michigan State to cut down the lead from 10 to 2, and the rest is absolutely history. So let's change gears just a little bit. I kind of went a little bit long on the Malik Dia stuff, but Luke Fahey is going to official to Ole Miss this summer. We don't have an exact date yet, but Luke Fahey let the Florida football scout know that he would be attending an Ole Miss official visit at some point. We're still waiting to see how it is situated with Luke Fahey and how it lands and all that. Because if you want to look at quarterbacks on the Ole Miss team in recruiting, the number one obviously is Landon Duckworth. He's the guy that makes all the noise in recruiting. He is the superstar set up in this class, and Ole Miss is going all in on Landon Duckworth. Absolutely no question. If Landon Duckworth officials and decides to commit to Ole Miss, they would take his commitment when he gave it verbally. It would be instantaneously. That is the level of committable offer that Landon Duckworth has. But I do think that Ole Miss wants to take more than one quarterback if they can. And there's a couple of three-star quarterbacks that are pretty big deals right now for the Ole Miss recruiting. One of which is Rees Wise, who's going to take an official visit, I think, a little bit later in the summer. He's going to go to practice one time, and he's going to come back for official visit. If Rees Wise gets a committable offer, he is going to commit on the spot. I have no doubts about that. But Luke Fahey is the other one. He's the quarterback out of California. I think Mission Viejo, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But he is rated as a three-star quarterback. Now, he is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the entire nation. If you go to his huddle film and look at that flash reel, you can see a guy that has all the arm talent in the world. He's a dual threat guy. He honestly plays like a hybrid of Matt Corral and Jackson Dart of the way he plays the quarterback position. Luke Fahey, if he ended up at Ole Miss, would be a very big get. Now, that would likely mean that Ole Miss missed out on somebody else. Like I said, if Landon Duckworth wants to come, he gets the scholarship, period, bar none. No joke about it. But Rees Wise is the one that's wanting the Ole Miss offer. He wants to go to Ole Miss, in my opinion. I think Luke Fahey, if he decided to go to Ole Miss, would mess with that offer as well. Now, Ryder Lyons has unofficially visited Ole Miss, and he had a good time as well. This week, he is going to be at Ohio State and Michigan, and then after that, he is going to name his last two official visits. He already has officials set up for USC, Oregon, and BYU. BYU is probably going to be the top threat here, if we're going to be honest. Ohio State just got a commitment from a top 2027 quarterback, which if you think about it, with the Mormon mission, the LDS mission that Ryder Lyons is going to go on, he is technically a 2027 quarterback. So pay attention to that. So I think Ole Miss and Michigan are likely to get the last two visits, but you never can tell about recruiting and how it's going to go. I know that he had an article where he talked about NIL and schools showing them how much they cared and how much they believed in players. And that was going to be a major factor for Ryder Lyons. We'll see. He's a top 10, top 20 quarterback in the entire country out of Folsom High School in California. Extremely, extremely good player. When you look at quarterbacks for Ole Miss, it's interesting. It really is interesting because over the last, 20 years, Ole Miss has kind of been a transfer haven for quarterbacks. Going back to Barry Brunetti in 2011, he transferred from West Virginia. In 2012, it was Bo Wallace, who transferred from East Mississippi Community College. In 2015, it was Chad Kelly, who transferred from the East Mississippi Community College. 2017, I guess, Jordan Tamu from New Mexico Military Institute. Then you had a little bit of a run with Mike Corral, who Ole Miss recruited out of high school. Props to Matt Luke for getting that done. And then after Matt Corral left, you had Jackson Dart, who was a transfer from USC. And he has been the quarterback for the last 3 years. But if you look at the quarterback room as it sits right now, other than Pierce Clarkson, who is the transfer from Louisville that Ole Miss picked up out of the transfer portal, you have Austin Simmons, high school player out of Pahokee High School, Muck Bowl fame in South Florida. You have A.J. Maddox, quarterback from Oak Grove, just outside of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And you have a whole bunch of quarterbacks right now that Ole Miss is in on, like really in on from the high school ranks, where in 2026, there's a chance that you're 4 or 5 deep with high school quarterbacks in your quarterback room. When you talk about transforming the roster, Lane Kiffin's doing a heck of a job. Just a masterful job of redirecting resources and making sure he has these positions situated. There's a couple of positions that you want to, nay, you need to address in the high school ranks. Otherwise, it is going to blow your whole NIL budget. And quarterback is one of those positions now. I think Jackson Arnold, the rumor, somewhere around $2.5 million to play quarterback at Auburn. Jackson Arnold, decent quarterback, had a fair game against Ole Miss a year ago, but nothing to where he lit the world on fire. $2.5 million. Quarterback is definitely a position that you want high school players to do it because it's easier to retain than it is to sign new. That's the way it always is. It's easier to keep them on your team than it is to bring somebody in. It's going to be more expensive when that happens. I think left tackle is in that position as well. And I think rush end is in that position and maybe cornerback. Those are the 4 most expensive positions on the field. And Ole Miss needs to, as much as they can, really do some work in the high school market. Like Suntaryn Perkins as an edge. That's excellent. Ole Miss needs a corner. I mean, they added Jalen Braxton. We'll see whenever he comes in. They moved Stage Ryan to free safety, which I think is a beautiful move for what they're doing. And the left tackle where you have Diego Pounds and Jaden Williams, yeah, you're in good shape there as well. So we'll see. Ole Miss is doing a pretty good job in the high school ranks as it sits right now. In our final segment, Ole Miss Baseball just took 2 from Kentucky, and now they face a massive series this weekend with Tennessee. Can the Rebels keep that momentum rolling? We will break it down next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It is your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finance. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you don't just manage your money, you start actually building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save a little bit more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, I can use Monarch to check my finances, track spending, even long-term plan goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's right. That's monarchmoney.com/LockedOnCollege for 50% off your first year. So it was a heartbreaking series, heart attack inducing, I should say, baseball series for Ole Miss over the weekend. First of all, they drop a game on Thursday, a game that they should have won. They had 13 or 14 hits in that game. I have no idea how Kentucky stayed in that game. Hunter Elliott was on the mound for Ole Miss. Ole Miss should have won that game. Kentucky won the game in extra innings. In game two, Ole Miss was able to win. I think it was 3-1. They hit a bomb late in the game. I think it was Smithwick, and Ole Miss won that game. And then that led to another game that Ole Miss won in extra innings. I think 11 or 12 innings, something like that, off of a Luke Hill home run. Kentucky, I don't know, they kind of showed their butt after the game, if we're going to be honest about it, but Ole Miss won that game. And we're at the point now where Ole Miss is 8-4 in the Southeastern Conference. 8-4 in the Southeastern Conference. They've lost 7 games over the course of the season. This team is either pretty good, not great. This isn't a great team, but a pretty good team. Or this is the best bad team in the history of bad teams. Because everybody keeps telling me every hole and every wart that this baseball team has. Not enough pitching, too home run dependent. They strike out too much. They're not good in the field. They haven't settled on a solid catcher. They don't have that Mike Bianco starting catcher that's just a stud. People tell you all the time the reasons why Ole Miss baseball isn't as good as basically the team that won the national title. And this weekend is kind of the litmus test to see exactly what you have, because you have a pissed off Tennessee team coming into Swayze Field this weekend. And the reason I say that is Texas A&M took the last 2 games and took the series in Knoxville against the Tennessee Volunteers. I bet Texas A&M wish they could have done that about, I don't know, a year ago. But I digress about that. Tennessee's going to be coming in pissed off. And Tennessee's coming in with Andrew Fisher and Liam Dole. That's your Friday night people. Liam Dole has contributed to 2 no-hitters this season. And Fisher's just mashing like we all know that Fisher can do it. So Ole Miss needs to control this series somehow. I think Ole Miss probably needs to find a way to get one. If Ole Miss gets 1 out of the 3 games, because Tennessee's a really good team. Anybody that tells you they're not, they're messing with you. But if Ole Miss can get 1 game, and this is a home series, I think. If Ole Miss can get 1 game, that is going to position them at 9-5 or 9-6, to where you move into the second part of the SEC schedule, 3 games above 500 against teams that you can beat. South Carolina is on the schedule. There's teams on the bottom half of this SEC schedule that are W's. And if you have 9 SEC wins at the halfway point of the SEC schedule, you can probably get 6 in the second half with the way the schedule's lined up. And if you get 15, 16 wins in the Southeastern Conference, you're going to be hosting a regional. And this baseball team hosting a regional should make everybody excited, because that is beyond any expectations that anyone had, other than maybe Mike Bianco and Joel Mangrum and the most Pollyanna fans that are out there. But Ole Miss has a chance to be really, really good moving forward. Anyway, this is my last week until my surgery hiatus. So I'm going to basically let everybody know what they can do, the ways that they can support the show, the ways that we can do it. I have Brian Smith, the Florida football scout, on for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting April 14th. Starting Monday, he will be on the show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Talking recruiting, talking about what he knows, talking about what Ole Miss needs to do in the recruiting platform. On Tuesdays, what my SEC compadres are going to put on a Ole Miss show from their perspective. The first one's already in. John Miller sent one in talking about his view of Ole Miss from the Missouri angle as well. I created Why I Hate videos. I've done 4 of the 8 that I have to do. I'm going to be pretty busy this week trying to knock those out before the weekend, but I'm going through every SEC game. It was giving you reasons why you should hate them, how the game's going to look, and the major storyline from that game. And between those, that should cover me until I return. I'm anticipating being out somewhere around 3 to 6 weeks, something like that. The surgery is no joke. It's a brain tumor. They're going in to shrink it all down. It's sitting on my facial nerve. That's the reason it takes so long, and that means that side effects could happen. And the side effect could be me looking like the Joker for a temporary period of time, or looking like I have Bell's palsy, depending on how the facial nerve reacts to what they're doing. So we will see exactly how this goes and what this looks like. If everything goes well, I should be back in about 3 weeks. If there's any kind of side effects, it could take a little bit longer. But my intention is to use this time to create a product into football season that completely transforms the Ole Miss space of audio and video and how a fan kind of interacts with their fandom about Ole Miss sports. Next season, I'm planning on doing postcasts all the way through the basketball season and all the way through the football season. Those are absolutely guarantees, and I'm also going to figure out ways to do that for baseball as well. I am going to do postcasts, just like always. I'm going to do normal Loom shows, and I have a special surprise show that is already in my head, but I'm not going to release that until a little bit later on in the summer, if that comes to fruition. Could be pretty good. So watch and listen to every show on the YouTube channel, please. Listen on podcast form as well. Leave a comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. It would help me out. Rate and review it, the whole 9 yards. And also, if you're interested in doing a little bit more, go down in the description. You will see a link to our subtext, and that's our Insiders program. During football season, it's blowing up. Right now, and during my surgery, it's not going to be that much, but you can view that as a tip if you want to do that, and I'm doing that in lieu of a GoFundMe. So I appreciate that as well. But this week, I am going to tell everybody what I'm doing surgery-wise, because this is the last week of basically being on the active roster for Locked On Ole Miss. So thank you very much for everything you did, and we'll see exactly how this goes as well. Thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the #1 Ole Miss podcast out there. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. As your favorite collegiate players are ready for the next level, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every single day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everyone. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.